Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Psychology Mythbusting. In today's episode we'll be examining possibly one of the most renowned myths out there. Humans are not living up to their potential and are only using 10% of their brain power, or brains. I'm sure you've heard variations of this today, such as in the new movie Glass, where it's stated that most people only use 1% of their brains, and from others who have talked about it in the past. In one study, when asked what percentage of their potential brain power do you think most people use, a third of psychology majors answered 10%. 59% of samples of a college-educated people in Brazil similarly believed that you only use 10% of your brain. Remarkably, that very same survey revealed that even 6% of neuroscientists agree with this claim. As is expected, this myth has also been used to market and advertise products to people, promising to unlock latent potential of the mind. Such examples of products include How to Be Twice as Smart by Scott Witt, New Age entrepreneurs who propose to hone the psychic skills we allegedly all possessed with gizmos for the mind, and even airline advertisements which have allegedly claimed in the past that using their airline will help you somehow unlock that 90% latency. However, when examining this claim from a scientific point of view, the first point of inquiry that comes to my mind at least is why would natural selection ever favor a mind that only utilizes 10% of its full capacity? Although the brain is only 2 to 3% of our body weight, it consumes 20% of the oxygen we breathe. Such a massive waste of resources would mean that any mutation with this potential amalgam would quickly die out. Additionally, losing far less than 90% of the brain to accident or disease almost always has catastrophic consequences. In a much publicized controversy surrounding the non-conscious status and ultimate death of Terri Schiavo, the young Florida woman who lay in a persistent vegetative state for 15 years, as a result of a cardiac arrest in 1990, 50% of Terri's cerebellum, the upper part of the brain responsible for conscious awareness, was oxygen deprived and ultimately died. Modern brain science argues that mind equals brain function. Therefore, patients like Ms. Schiavo had permanently lost the capacity for thoughts, perceptions, and emotions that are the foundation to what it means to be human. If 90% of the brain is indeed unnecessary and not utilized, this should not have been the case with Ms. Schiavo. Research also reveals that no area of the brain can be destroyed by strokes or head trauma without leaving patients with serious deficits in functioning. Finally, two firmly established principles of neuroscience create further problems for the 10% myth. Areas of the brain that are unused because of prior injuries or disease tend to do one of two things. They either wither away and die, or are taken over by nearby areas of the brain that are on the lookout for unused territory. Where this myth comes from is a bit murky, but one piece of evidence points back to a quote from the pioneering American psychologist William James, who in one of his writings stated, quote, "He doubted that average persons achieve more than 10% of their intellectual potential," end quote. When James referred to this, he more so was referring to underdeveloped potential within a person, not necessarily relating it to a specific amount of brain being engaged by a person. Those who followed him, however, were not so careful in their statements. 10% of our capacity turned into 10% of our brain. The largest boost for the self-help entrepreneurs came when journalist Lowe attributed the 10% brain claim to William James. Thomas did so in the 1936 preface to one of the best-selling self-help books of all time, How to Win Friends and Influence People. The myth has never lost its steam since. From this point onward, the 10% myth had its tendrils firmly in the grips of the cultural zeitgeist. Two other sources include laypersons' misunderstanding of what glial cells do in the brain, which outnumber nerve cells or neurons 10 to 1. Although neurons are where transmissions occur, glial cells perform essential support functions such as surrounding neurons to hold them in place and supplying vital nutrients such as oxygen to the neurons. The other source comes from those claiming that Albert Einstein once said that he untapped his own 90% latency to achieve what he did. Thanks to some staff at the Albert Einstein Archive, no records of Einstein ever claiming such a thing have been found. So while the 10% myth certainly is encouraging and people take solace in the fact that overcoming obstacles and hardships in life is within us, perhaps looking to improve habits, Learning more about ourselves and the world and setting goals for ourselves is the better route to go than trying to set up a mythological false flag, so to speak. Further confusing others about how to better their own lives is deceptive, counterproductive, and in a way, evil. Now, if I had a sponsor, I might slip in something about a learning website for improving your knowledge base, but I don't. So with that, I leave you with a bit of wisdom. It takes consistent effort to improve your life. Improving your life is seldom achieved through instant gratification, and if it is, it's not held for long. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Ciao.